Kako, everyone. Welcome to episode 28 of the Moana podcast. My name is Moana, your host. I am the author of the Adventures of Nakoa and Nohea children's book series, editor of the Wild Card Chronicles comic book series, and lover and champion of the indie comics and independent creatives community. Today, as always, I'm joined by my beautiful host, Dana.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dana with Unique Events. Most of you know me as a cosplay event and staff con photographer for cons such as MomoCon, DragonCon, Anime Week in Atlanta, and much more. So we're very excited for you to join our episode 28 of our podcast. And let's get ready for you to meet our upcoming guests.
Alrighty, before we get started, we just have a couple brief announcements for our fans and followers. Of course, we have to give a shout out to our season 2 sponsor, Chat and Draw podcast, and Mike Watson, who's the creator. He's an amazing artist. You guys should definitely check out his show. He has lots of great things. He just finished a Kickstarter campaign, but you can check him out at Freestyle Comics and on the Short Fuse Media Group website. Also, there's an amazing documentary for cosplay debuting today by our good friend, Bar Fox, who produced it and is doing the worldwide premiere tonight. So go ahead and check that out on channel 109 on Freely TV. But now let's get to our amazing guest. I'm so excited to have her on because I'm a big fan of her work. I love fantasy art. And so Mog is just super talented. Like the level of detail that she puts into her work is just amazing. But Mog is a world traveler who has lived in Australia, Egypt, Africa, Russia when the USSR broke down, and Japan when the Kobe earthquake hit, which is like, those are some of my favorite places. Some I haven't been to yet, but it's on my list. She has moved around the United States too, living in California, Wisconsin, Illinois, and then calling my home, Hawaii, home as well. She currently resides in the LA area. During her traveling, she's learned to speak and write in 3 different languages, which is amazing: Korean, Japanese, and English. Mog is a traditional artist from Academy of Art University in San Francisco. After graduating, she began working for Tokyo Pop, where she gained knowledgeable experiences that led her to become a concept design and illustrator on HBO's Game of Thrones, which is amazing. She enjoys going on the con run, meeting new people, sharing art, food, and life experiences, and hopes that our shows will return very, very soon. Coming off fresh from working in the gaming industry, she now focuses on providing covers and other art to indie publishers. You can find her mainly on Facebook, Instagram, and ArtStation, as well as DeviantArt at Mog Park, and on ArtStation at Dubu Gomdori. Oh my God, I butchered that. Dubu Gomdori. So without further ado, let us bring the amazing Mog onto the show.
Woo!
Hi. What's up, ladies?
Hello.
Clapping sound effects. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It's kind of warm, like for today. It's been kind of cold, but today's a bit warm, so I'm happy.
Yes, I think you sent all the cold over here because we had snow in our area.
What? There's snow?
Yeah, earlier today. It wasn't bad, but it was enough to get a little bit of a dusting and a coating here. But yeah, so we're so excited to have you on. Let's get started by having you tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up, and how did your love for illustration begin?
Okay. I grew up. I was born in South Korea. I still am Korean, by the way. But I reside here in America.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for drawing wise, like I was, typical Asians, they want you the best. The parents want you to be very like successful in any way, so they don't have to worry about you, right? So I was raised to be very academic. So I would, particularly in the fields towards like medical. or law, or either or. They were happy if I go into law or medical field. And then always, for some reason, I was always drawn to art instead. And so I kind of rebelled a bit there, and I finally got myself into an art college. And at the time, growing up, especially if you're growing up in the East area, like, I mean, I'm talking about East as in like Asia, like Japan and Korea. The biggest thing is manga and anime. So I wanted to work for an animation studio. And by circumstances, like because of my father's job and traveling, I ended up being in San Francisco. And in San Francisco, there was an art college that was offering animation, like a 3D animation at the time. And they don't have it now, but they were offering 2D animation. There's no such thing, you know. What's 2D animation? So I started 3D animation, and then for some reason I realized that you're just like you're always sitting in front of a computer, and you're not really producing work, but it's gonna end up it's not as creative as I thought it would be. So I changed to 2D because I like tactile. I'm very like kinesthetic in a way. So let me draw it. I want to see my actual drawing, you know, into a piece of paper, and then see how I progress from there. And then from 2D animation, I realized, man, you got to know so much about art. Like if you want to become an artist in itself, like if you want to develop skill, you have to know a lot of other stuff that I didn't know, like basic drawing, figure drawing, anatomy, perspective, all of that. And that was all taught as illustration. They called it traditional illustration, because at that time, fine art was, if you go into fine art, it's like breaking into two different branches. One is fine art and one is traditional. You're both painting, but traditional is like the masters, how they used to paint, you know, realistically and all of that. And it's applicable in a lot of ways, where you can do cover arts and whatever, like magazines and everything. But fine art is you're doing the same thing, you're painting, but it's like abstract. It's just like, you know, just abstract things that I'm not very comfortable, or I like personally don't have a taste for. So I ended up choosing traditional illustration because I kind of wanted to be a well-rounded artist. Like I want to know how to paint. I want to know how to, you know, do certain things like drawing, illustrate for a book, because I always thought one day I would like definitely want to publish a book. So they taught how to publish a book through illustration. So I learned all of that. What was interesting was while I was learning, I was never really a good student. Like I'm not like that stars pupil A student. I just wanted to be like under the radar. Just leave me alone. Like I would sit at the back, you know, like just B is great. C, yeah, you know, just leave me alone. I don't want to. It was such a homebody, man. Like I still am, but I was kind of like that. But I was just like only one track minded, where I want to create like comics. That's all I wanted to do, which is and I saw that at that time there was the comics were published in like one particular style, which is very like that American standard style. So I thought it would be cool if I can get into the industry and do it in my style, where I can learn from my cultural like aesthetics that I learned as I grew up, you know, like the manga or the anime or manhwa style that I grew up with. So I thought it would be nice if I create a hybrid and then go into the comic industry that way. That was always my goal. But what happened was, as you learn the way, you realize how many things you don't know, and that's another thing. You can never know your capabilities until you actually try it out. Like things that you've never ever thought that you want to do at all. Yeah. And one of the things that everybody sucks at is what, especially I'm talking about artists in general, is drawing perspective. Yeah, right. And hands too, but perspective, backgrounds. Nobody is interested. They all want to do like character designs or blah blah. And I, by sheer luck, I happen to. All right, sorry about that. I'm giving too much information. What was the question?
No, it's okay. It's good. I mean, I'm learning stuff too. Yeah, keep going.
Are you sure about that?
You're helping us understand yourself and about your love of illustration, which was part of the question. So you're right on. You're still on task with your question.
Okay. Sorry, I tend to info dump a lot. So, okay. But yeah, anyway, so I met my friend Elsa Garagarza, and she was from an architect background. And she was very incredibly good at doing perspective and architectures and whatnot because she had that background. And I saw that she was enlisting in for a background design class, which is for animation. And I thought, you know what? Let me try what you're doing because I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible at it, and I want to at least know the basics. So I learned with her. We took several classes, and we drew lots of like backgrounds for animation. And that really helped my perspective and whatnot. And what I never predicted from that moment on was it was that particular skill that everybody always struggled and didn't want to do that would actually get me into the industry of like HBO. But before HBO, which I never ever wanted to, I never even like was like put it in my goal or, I ever like dreamed of like working for a TV industry. I was just gunning only for comics. Mm-hmm. So I was showing my portfolio around at the time, like San Diego Comic-Con, when it was like not as crowded as now. And at the time, Tokyo Pop publishing companies, it was very prevalent at the time, which if you guys don't know, Tokyo Pop, they were like the first publishing company that wanted to, bring in manga into America. And they were very successful in introducing manga. And also they were very ambitious enough where they're saying, we have a huge comic industry in America. Why don't we do a manga industry in America? And they want to feature specifically American artists. And they were looking for artists at the time. So I cooked up a portfolio and, just like a story. And then I showed it to the editors because they were doing portfolio reviews. So the first time I showed it to them, they were like, you have potential, you're not quite ready there, come back after you're more ready. So and then after that, they actually had this thing called like a contest where, people can, submit their artwork. And if you make it to the top 10, then they'll publish your work. So I tried that after that. And I made it to the semifinalists, but I didn't make the finalists. But I still saved all that work. And then on the third year, I reworked all my portfolio. I compiled everything that I showed to them before and, refreshed it. And then I showed it to the editors at the time. And they actually by the third time, they accepted my work and they gave me a contract. It's like, hey, I really like your work. You can do the story, anything you want. You have creative freedom. Do the work. And so that's when I realized that's when I learned the hard way about deadlines, talking with editors, all that stuff. And I failed miserably in every way, to the point where okay, Mel. So I was so naive. Like I wasn't prepared for that kind of industry and working commercially, because you think you're ready, and then when you're actually into that structured like commercial kind of company and you work with them, you realize all the flaws that you have. And one of the things was I couldn't meet the deadlines. So and then it kind of fell through. But what I learned was, when you ever get an opportunity like that, it doesn't come often, right? So the next time, I promised myself that if any kind of opportunity comes, no matter what, do the work in time. It doesn't have to be perfect. Do the work in time and do the best you can do. And communication and all of that, that all came in later on. So in the meantime, just like any other people out there who wants to become an artist as a dream, I was working with lots of, I was just doing like all kinds of jobs, which actually helped me now. But yeah, so, and then on the side I was drawing. And then at the time I met my partner, and Mel, he was managing my, probably like my art career. And he was saying, you love stories, you love fantasy, you love reading all the time. So why don't you translate that into art? So I started to illustrate. I was a huge fan of Game of Thrones before even the show started. So I was a huge fan, and I would read it like multiple times. Like on the spare time, I would just read it over and over again. And I had particular aesthetics of how the characters I wanted them to look like, so I would draw them out. And then Mel started like posting them out on DeviantArt. And that's another thing is I was very bad at showing artwork, which everyone should if you want to be an artist, but I'm very bad at that. So Mel was the one who actually did all the marketing. He built the DeviantArt at the time, the whole website. He posted the artwork, and before I knew it, after a couple of years, I got contacted by HBO, and they were saying, "We like your work, we like your style. Do you want to work for us?" So, and then from then on, the rest is history. I'm done. I'm sorry for the long ramble.
No, that's so fine. No, it's all good.
You're good.
So, like you said that Arya was your favorite character. What drew you to her specifically?
I love Arya because she was not about the typical girl thing, like being pretty, being in romance, all of that, because I was never like that either. I was a tomboy, so I was never interested in pink. I was never interested in dresses, makeup. I mean, to be honest with you, I never even wore makeup until way late, after I was married. So, like, that's how much I didn't care about how I looked, So what I really love about Arya is that she's so savage in her determination in getting what she wants. She just kind of like defies convention, especially in her period time. So that appealed to me so much. Like, I don't know, it's just she was kind of like speaking my own language.
Yeah.
Whereas this character was completely not my style. Like, I just could not understand her. In fact, I even posted I did a posting that she telling people that this is my least favorite character.
I couldn't stand her either.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, for very much the same reasons as you. Like, I kind of tomboy as well. So Arya was like, she was just doing her thing,
Yes.
Like, she was defending her family. She was standing up, like, even if she was going to be standing out there by herself, I am no one.
Yeah,
I'm here though.
Yeah. So these are just forgive me, they're really old and they're not that great, but these are just the old drawings, like way back in 2000s, early 2000s, that I posted. I mean, well, technically Mel posted up, and these pieces actually got noticed. So what I was first offered to do was a test audition piece, which was this piece right here. It was a scene where the Targaryens, the first conquerors, came. So this is Aegon the Conqueror and two of his sisters, which is his wives. And then this is the Tyrell scenes where they're very famous for their rose gardens. So I think they call it High Garden, but these are like, they're famous for their roses and whatnot. So I had to make the place look very beautiful. And these are all the retinues and the character, kneeling fealty to the king. So that was the first test page that they asked me to do, because they don't just hire you. You have to go through like some auditions, and after they like the piece, then go through several producers, several production companies, and they all have to come into agreement that they like the piece. So let's hire her. So that's what the process was. So this is my first piece, first entry piece that got me actually working steadily for the Game of Thrones.
I can see why. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So so these are some of the stuff, and like I said, all these background elements was actually what ended up perpetuating for them to keep coming back to me and say, "Hey, we really like your work. Could you please continue working with us?" And they always refreshed. They came back and renewed the contract, so to speak, every year. And I would have never expected that these kind of architectural skill is what would get me through the door. And I didn't know that it was such a high sought position, and that was something that I didn't know that either. And also, if you're able to draw backgrounds, they pay you way more than just being able to draw characters as well. So that was just all accident to where I never planned to draw any of these, be in a position where I'll be drawing these things for them. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because every single piece, it's like it pulls you in, like, oh, let me see what's going on in this scene. Like, where are we and who's in there? You know, even this one too, like the details of the birds, they're all coming, you know, from different directions.
Yes.
And just the perspective, like, yeah, I mean, wow. I don't know all the, you know, the terms for art, but I just know it's badass.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, at King's Landing, like, man. And especially like that you were pulling this, I mean, you know, because I'm assuming like some of this art you were already doing even before the show started, right? Like this is just from your own imagination, from reading the book and like what you're seeing as you're reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's skill.
Like for example, shots like this. It didn't even exist in the show, so I hardly have any references.
Yeah.
They would say, "Could you give me a courtyard?" And there's no people, and you know, just have to figure out how you have to. I had to imagine what it was like to walk into that place, and if I was physically standing there and seeing what it was like from this perspective, looking up. And then the hardest one was this one, because there is no such reference at all in any HBO shows where you're looking from down. Like this is a scene where I had to draw where dragons are flying and they're flying in and coming down and swooping into King's Landing. And this was the hardest part. This is one of the hardest part that I had to do because, you know, that's when imagination is very important.
Yeah.
Just and also that imagination is great, but also it has to make sense. It has to be accurate, you know, because you're depicting an established shot, like as in I'm talking about as in this is an architecture design that they already established by previous design. So I had to look like the design. I can't just make it up. So I have to physically in my head try to visualize how it would look like from if I was flying from the sky, like stuff like that. You know, it's just kind of challenging, but you just have to. That's I think also part of the fun part, you know.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like this one here, kind of like it reminds me a little bit, or just some similarities to Lord of the Rings. What was the name? Was it Gondor? Just like the castle. You know, like they kind of had like a pointed ship looking thing, which is like, I'm not saying that it's the same thing, but like it has the same feel, I guess, because of the genre too, right? Like, so while you can't copy, you can still get like the feel. But I'm so like, I'm just amazed because like for somebody to like visualize something from like what they're reading, like to be able to take what's in your mind and actually put it on paper and convey it to other people, to me it's just, I salute you. Like,
yes,
look at this boat design, like,
and especially that it was something that wasn't even established, or you could visually see that you had to make that canon for the show.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You established that canon based on your own imagination, your visualization, based on you reading the books, which I find is key, because so often we see creators and things that don't read the actual source. And that's where a lot of people who really love the books and things like that and comics get upset, because they vary so far from the original material that it doesn't even relate. And because you were already connected to the material when you were before HBO called you, you had a deeper insight to give us that more of that perspective and that feel, and just make and draw us in because of that. So that's what I definitely can see with this.
Thank you. But I don't know. It's a strange thing, you know, Dana. People always say you gotta do what you like, right? I realize that's like a half truth. You have to do what you like, but also you gotta do a lot of the things you don't like to do. It's it's not just one thing. I realized
Mm-hmm.
by doing this, it's all. And
Yeah.
the thing is, I learned to like the things I didn't like before. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yes, it completely makes sense because typically when we look at a field, from how I always see it is we get that rose-colored view of a field, or we see the good side of it. But then once we get into it, we realize all the extra work you got to do, the the producers, the all this other stuff, and it's like, whoa, 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 no one told me about all this. I'm supposed to be doing something I love. I don't want to deal with those people. I want to just stay in my lane, avoid you. But then you realize you have to deal with those people, deal with those things in order to have that career. So yes, I call it a 40-60. 40% of what you like, 60% you don't like.
Yes, that is so true because I mean, yeah, like you said, it's so much more than what people see on the surface. It's like I like to use the iceberg analogy.
Yes.
Like you only see just a very tiny bit, but all under here, there's
Yes.
just so much going on. And you talked a little bit about how you failed at the beginning, but I mean that's all part of the journey, right? We learn from those failures, and as long as we're not giving up, it's just another learning lesson to help us along the way, so that we
Yes.
get closer to whatever our goal we might be setting. We can appreciate like what it took for us to
Exactly.
get here. Yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah.
and that's part of like you telling that story, even though you felt like you were saying too much, or as you said, data dropping, dumping and everything. It's helpful because too often when people watch interviews and podcasts, they only hear the good parts. And then a lot of people think, especially like in the indie comic realm or something, it's like, oh, I can do that. That is going to be so easy. I'm going to just create my own comic and I'm going to make so much money and I don't have to worry about Marvel and stuff. And then when they get in it, it's like, whoa, no one told me all this. It's like, no, fortunately, a lot of people don't tell you they tell you the good, but they don't give you the bad and the ugly part of it. And with you giving that and your journey helps people, especially if they want to get in that field, to understand it's not going to be all beautiful roses and daisies and everything. You're going to go through those thorns and everything else, those droughts and everything on your way there until you finally get to that place that, you want to be at.
That's so true. I think I think one of the example of that also is I don't know if it's happening to you guys, but with me in particular, with my life, everything that I didn't want to do, or like I find it very difficult, was the one that actually spurred me to success.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of I find it really strange and actually funny because remember the last thing you saw, which was the ships, the boats. When I never drew a boat before. I said I don't like ships. I don't like Navy stuff. I will never draw them. That's what I thought. I just only want to draw what I want to draw, like a subject matter. But the first thing they had me draw was like a ship. It has to be a warship, and specifically, it has to be a Westeros style warship back in the days. And, and after a lot of struggle, I did the best I could, and I sent it to them. And after that, I said, "That's it. I'm probably sure they're not going to send me again." And what happened was after that season, they started to give me more boats, more ships, more everything, like harbor, reconstruct them, like start from the scratch, like visualize for me how it's going to look like from that, and it has to be a merchant ship. It can't be a galleon, like very specific stuff. And then, and just give me more and more. And I thought this is crazy because I saw, I thought that I don't like this. I don't want to do it. And I was always very like, oh God, like please. I keep praying, don't give me any boat, and then they give me more boats. And yeah, and then around the third season, like third year, I was working for them. they just gave more. I just gave up.
Yeah.
and then it got to a point where I'm like, bring it, give me everything.
Yes.
Anything legal, I got it. It's in my head now.
Yeah.
It's so insane. And what was really funny was the real confirmation that I'm doing great was one day I'm working on my own script because everybody is given a slot, like a script, couple scripts to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a email, like a late email from my producer, and he said, "Yo, this is some other guy's script. He can't draw a boat. Draw for him, please. We'll pay you." So I was drawing boats for other people's script. So that's when I realized, wow, I guess I'm known as the ship lady. Yeah. You just don't know. You really don't know your own strengths or what you're going to be good at. It's just, yeah, it's so fascinating how it turns out like that.
It kind of hits all perspectives, kind of like what I remember as a kid, like my parents always said, you got to try something. I don't want to try it. It looks like it's going to be nasty, or I don't want to try it. And she's like, have you had it before? No. How you know it's nasty? You don't. So try it, see if, go from there. And then, go from there after that. And then, especially if you don't like it this time, try it again later, which something I may not have liked, a few years ago, all of a sudden it's like, oh, this was done differently, so I like it. So it's kind of like that same perspective, that something you're like, yeah, I would never want to do it. And then all of a sudden you start doing it, it's like, wow, I'm really good. So that was you with the boats. You was just like, you didn't want it, and all of a sudden everybody else is like, no, you're really good. We're going to have you do boats.
I guess.
But that is wonderful. And then you use so much of your perspective, and especially one of the things that Moana brought up when she was giving your introduction, that you traveled and lived in quite a few places, both within the United States and overseas. What was your favorite place and why?
Okay. I think my favorite place was Australia. Because this was back in the 80s, and I was living kind of like just above Sydney, so it was not very commercialized at the time, and it was just more laid back, chill, and very happy. But then when I visited Australia again 2 years ago, I'm like, this is it's not the same. Like, so I think that was it. I just like the laid back style. And I think I always yearned for that. I never found it until I came to Hawaii. And Hawaii was totally like everything I wanted, or more like dreamed of, or could be possible, was there. Yes. First of all, it was a melting pot. There was no racial discrimination. I felt so happy. Like, I feel like you just don't know it until you get off the plane and you walk, and you suddenly feel like you can breathe again for some reason. I don't know how to describe it. It's like,
yes,
there's something oppressing you here, and then now it's light. I don't know. Just, and then everybody's attitude is like, let's be nice. Come on.
Yes. Yes.
What's wrong being nice?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that too. That's why I liked Australia back then. But then when it went back there again, I'm like, what's going on? It's like a complete different animal now. It's so industrialized. It's so commercialized. It's just not the same. But when I went to Hawaii, it was like, it's okay to be nice and show people like a smile. They're not gonna rip you off or see you as a weakness, something like that. Yes. So I would say my initial childhood is Australia, but hands down, just Hawaii all the way.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Whoop whoop. Yeah, I'm biased, but hell yeah.
Yes, me and Moana are a little biased because we're both from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is so true. Like, it's just a whole different culture, and just an easier lifestyle. But just very similar to what you said about Australia, though. Like, even when I go back home now, it is still great, but it is not the same as it used to be. Like,
exactly,
commercialize it. Fortunately, like, my island, knock on wood, is still not close to like Oahu or Maui's becoming more so now too. But, yeah, but things change. Like, it's evolution, and we just have to adapt to it, and hopefully,
Exactly.
you know, we can reclaim some of our sovereignty and things. But so with all of your different world travels and world experiences, how did that influence you know, your art and, you know, all the work that you do?
Mm-hmm.
I think what influenced me was just every time I wasn't really like, I went to places where it was challenging,
Mm-hmm.
or I didn't know it would be challenging, but it became challenging. For example, when I was living in Japan, we got hit by one of the biggest earthquake at the time. Was it what, 8.2, 8.5? It's incredible. It's just massive destruction. I was in the smack dab middle of it, and I saw how people cope with the crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized the way they cope in Japan is like, it's like butter on toast. No one's like making a huge hullabaloo. They're just like, okay, this happened. Let's start. Come on, like, put the emotion away. Let's just get it so we can get it where we can start working again.
Yes.
Their surviving coping mechanism was really cool, and I learned aspects of that, and it just influenced me. You know, like, just living through weird major crises always just shaped me, like, to be not so afraid. I think it just all came down to being not so afraid about like the small things, if that makes sense. Like another one, Moscow. I was in there where they had the coup d'etat, and I lived right next to the White House at the time, and they were attacking both buildings. So literally there were bullets like coming through my window, and there's all these bullet holes and there's no safe place. So all I had to do was lie down on the floor and wait for the bullet thing to pass, and hopefully it don't hit you. You know, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
So stuff like that. And also when I was in Korea, hardest time in my life was out of state. By far, that was the hardest time, was high school in Korea, because we were hit with something called an IMF, where the whole country goes bankrupt. So your currency has no value in any. And the only thing that the entire world will accept payment to pay your debt off is actual gold. You have to have gold piece. If you don't have gold piece, you are worthless. So everywhere, left and right, you're seeing people doing drastic things, you know, like suicide, just crime, all kinds. And of course, we were affected to it. We were affected by it. Poverty, that's common. It was common, you know, all of that. And going through all of that, it made me very, I think what really made me, number one, is be open-minded. Just don't judge people, especially don't judge people by their careers or their looks. So when you know, when then people ask you questions, like when you first meet like you're a stranger, you say, "Hey, how you doing? What's your name?" You know, "I'm Mog. What do you do for a living?" You know, stuff like that. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I just want to know, are you a good person or not? Just by talking. So I learned to like just move away from surface level and get into it. And I think that really helped me socialize with people. And I realized in art, that is very important. That's another thing that nobody talks about, is you have to be good at what you do, of course, you know, a skill. And don't ever stop learning. Don't ever stop becoming better. But if you want to become a decent artist, you have to know how to have social skills.
Yes.
You really do, because you can't do things alone. You have to work as a team. And dealing with all kinds of international people, international crisis, and all of that, I felt like, yeah, it just made me just, I don't know, be more open-minded to people and just try to be more nice and social. I think, I don't know, I know this doesn't really relate to the art, but it does help as an artist's career. So, yeah.
It definitely does, because all that plays a part, not only in art, but how you interact in the art world anyway. So those lessons help you be able to cope in that particular world, whether you're an animator or a writer or whatever. You have to have that adaptability from learning those lessons to survive in the entertainment world.
I like that, Dana. You really succinctly put it. It's adaptability. I should have just said it. Adaptability.
Yeah. Well, not everybody wants to adapt, and
Yeah.
especially 2020, we learned a lot of people had to adapt because of what happened in 2020 with the pandemic, and so many people are resistant to change. But if we didn't change, we'll still be who we were at 5 years old. So we had to change in different forms of fashion. So our degree of adaptability is part of our survival.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. And one of our listeners, Robin, says that like there are way more professions that rely on social skills that people think. And I think that's especially true now with like, communications mechanisms that rely heavily on technology, and specifically because we can't have as many in-person interactions now. You can see on social media like who doesn't have good social skills because they're the ones in those toxic like conversations, like
Yes.
people can say words, and like I try not to jump on it too much because you don't know the context or where that person would necessarily be coming from. But some people are like quick to just jump on them and just like go into attack or defense mode, and I'm like, is this something that you would say to somebody in person though?
Yes.
Like perhaps maybe you would instead like tell me more, like I don't really understand where you're coming from, can you tell me a little bit more to help me understand before I go like it's crazy to me.
Yes.
A little bit sad too, but I mean I hope people will understand. I mean, that's really like what we're trying to do with this particular podcast as well, is like, let's just get to know each other, before we pass our judgments, because we're all people. Like we all go through different struggles. And like, I learned so much about Mog and, like the places where you've been and those situations and environments that you've lived through. Like that's true survivor, warrior, hero, like all those boss bitch, like all those great terms, right?
Yes.
Like, oh my God, not to say, I'm not saying you're a bitch, Mog. I'm sorry. Let me not,
Ah,
but like boss moves, right? Like savage, like what you were talking about Arya. So like I can see why you love her now. Because it's very similar. Like she lost her whole family. Well, not her whole family, but a lot of her family. And she's like, it sucks, but you know what? I'm gonna get y'all. Like y'all gonna get it. And I'm still here. So I love stories of resiliency and like overcoming adversity.
Yes.
And it can be in so many different situations. Like I really respect people for that. And it just makes me happy to see you be successful because you so deserve it. Like that's amazing.
What helps going through trauma is if you have short-term memory. Just keep going and you're fine.
Yeah.
That's
Go
right.
to sleep and the next morning, you're good.
Yeah, it's like what? If you guys saw the movie Gone with the Wind?
Yeah.
With Vivian, she always says, tomorrow. I'll worry about tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was like one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. People are probably like, "What, Moana? What?" Yeah, no, I that was one of my favorite. Red Garen. Oh, Ashley. I'm like, oh my God, will you get over Ashley? I'm actually. That's funny that I actually remember those names. See, y'all. I'm telling on myself.
Hey, that just shows the beauty of creatives, that lines, the art, the costumes, the background, those things, no matter how young or old you are, it sticks in your mind. And 20 years later, you can still recite stuff from something you saw when you were like 10 years old or something, because it just stuck with you because of the beauty of it. So yes. That's why creatives and teachers need to get paid more.
I'm saying, I can get behind that. Absolutely.
Especially our artists. Goodness.
For
Now,
sure.
you went into some of the stuff that you learned and everything, but about your experiences of living in those different places. But what are the top 3 lessons that you also learned from living a life amongst such a diverse culture in all the places you lived?
Top 3 things I learned. from each culture, like from
Either one, your top 3 out of all the places you lived in, what were the lessons you learned?
The biggest lesson is it's not the place, it's the people. I used to live in the most beautiful place, okay, in some of the most beautiful places, but I was dealt with a lot of because I was a minority. I was dealt with like really bad racism, and that really made me think you can be living in paradise, but if everybody hates you, it's hell for you. And it's really always the people, not the place. So please, so one thing is be good to everyone around you, and surround yourself with good people, because that is what home is. And I think second, I don't know, what's the second one? Adaptability, I guess. Just be open-minded. Just, I don't know. I think the third one I would just say, I don't know if this counts as adaptability, but opportunistic. Like if you see an opportunity, just do it. Just be. I guess that is adaptability, right? You're being able to see it and just go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that back. So that's part of adaptability. Third is do the very thing that you're afraid to do.
Step outside your box. Yes.
Yeah. Like learning, shifting through all kinds of places, like being in very like struggling with sometimes poverty. It's up and down. Life is like that anyway, right? Because you're open-minded, like I took a job where I was doing sales, and when anybody says sales, it's like synonymous with something really bad, like charlatans or something really bad. Like nobody wants to do sales. It's like telling people to go and speak in front of like a speech class, take a speech class. So I swore again to everybody that I will never do sales, but circumstances happened where there was the only job available, and I took it. And I realized this is what everybody should take at least 1 year or 2 years, because it's so good in a way that it makes me really, it shaped me into become more presentable to people, to know how to speak the right way, or just to communicate and create a report. That's what sales really helped, me, like, just round it up, right? I mean, gave me that skill, and I would have never had known that again if I didn't just do it, even though I was afraid of it. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. But number one lesson, definitely people.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely 100% agree with that. That people make everything, whether it's a physical, like a place that you live in or a place that you work, like the environment is all about the quality of the people that you're amongst. So, yeah. So, in the current media and over the last year, I mean, it's been before. We all know this. It's systemic and it's historic, but there's been more visibility of some Asian targeted crimes since COVID has began, due to the coronavirus and its supposed origins in China. And we're seeing a lot of them on the West Coast, which is where you live now. What are some things that people could do to be allies to the Asian American struggle? How do you think people can take action to be the change that everybody is seeking?
I think this is kind of similar to when 9/11 happened, where the Middle Eastern people became a target. It's like that, but now it's Asian, so unfortunately. And I would say, please don't make judgment calls, and please be open-minded. Just because how we look different or whatever, that's the only thing I can ask people to do. Just please be open-minded. Please don't. Yeah, I don't know. This is getting political, but I don't want to. I think that's the general message I would give.
Okay.
That's a good one. Yep. Everybody should definitely be open-minded, because I mean, really, like, nobody likes to be judged and treated in a bad way. So I mean, The one I always go back to is treat people how you would like to be treated, or don't treat people how you don't want to be treated. I think
Yes.
the opposite is so true too.
Now, going back into some more positive stuff about your experience on HBO's Game of Thrones, and you talked about at the beginning about how that you were able to get that opportunity and was able to work for several seasons on the show, but what role did you plan in the show's production?
What role did I was part of?
That you got to plan in the show's production?
Okay. So my main role that they hired me first was post-production, which is after the production, they wanted to create more animations and filler stories, which is history and lore. So that was my main role. But as I was working through the seasons, sometimes they would ask me to do certain designs. Like the key one was Dragonstone or the Dragon Pit before the show even developed it. So they asked me to draw it out. And then they gave me like free creative reign to, visualize it. And certain things like that, or sometimes where the Baratheons, there was one of the character called Robert Baratheon, which is the king. In case people who don't know Game of Thrones, they've never ever shown their house, what they look like in the house or exterior. And they asked me to design certain things like that. So that's the one thing that I didn't predict that would be happening. And I ended up being part of that as well. And, of course, like I would have to say most of the work that I turned in, maybe only 10% sometimes gets shown because it's all part of a mass production. And sometimes they don't use your work, but that's okay because I got paid for it. But yeah, stuff like that really was fun. I really, really enjoyed designing. I never knew I would ever say I enjoyed designing buildings. But yeah, that was one thing I never predicted I thought I would do. So yeah.
Nice. That's very fascinating. Very fascinating.
Absolutely. A lot of people know Tokyo Pop from its classic animes like Initial D and GTO, but they also have TV, film, motion comics, and YouTube shows as part of their projects. During your time there at Tokyo Pop, what projects did you work with, and what was your favorite experience from that time?
Okay, so like I said before in the beginning intro, I got like an exclusive contract to do my own projects as a creator. So they gave me a contract where I had free reign to write my own story, draw my own story, and they'll just publish it. And they asked me how many issues you want me to do, all of that. So I think in that, like, I wasn't really part of the team of the production. I was more of a creator that they would hire so they can like publish. And what I learned from that again was bittersweet because it was just my first gig and I really didn't know any better. Like the biggest thing was deadlines because I had a full-time job back then. I was like a manager of a department store. So I was in charge of opening and closing these department stores. And then on top of that, I would come home and I would have to do these certain things. And I really, really I don't think I did the time management very well. I just didn't take it quite seriously enough. And that's one of the biggest lesson I learned about keeping time. And so when I got after that, I thought the opportunities like this will never happen again. It's very rare because I worked so hard to get that opportunity. Like I said, it took me 3 years just to get the editors to approve and write a contract with me. And I botched. It was my fault. So like lessons like that really, it really just stays with you because of the failure. But when the second opportunity came and I got to work for the TV industry, yeah, never again. Stuff like that. It was funny because I eventually met one of the directors there just by chance at a Comic-Con. And he's like, "Hey, you're Mog. Yeah, you're known as one of the faster ones." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." So I think that's about Yeah, that's about it. Communication as well. Always check your emails.
Mm-hmm.
Respond right away if you can. Don't respond like 1 week after. You know what I mean? Artists.
Exactly.
All the simple things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So simple, but not so simple, you know?
True, true.
Yeah.
As we're getting close to the end of our time, tell us about what legacy do you hope to leave with your work?
That's very deep, Dana. I like that. Because, sometimes you're like, why am I doing this? I just like to draw. That's why. But yeah, that's the main reason. But the second thing, the legacy is an interesting thing because as I get more and more involved with working with different people, especially in the publishing company now, like publishing industry now, I realize it's really, again, not about yourself. It's bigger, where it's just not about you. It's also about other people around you.
Mm.
And the legacy I would like to create is, for me, art was like a form of escape. And I always thought that was a very frivolous thing. It's just kind of embarrassed, like, I can't deal with life, so I'm just going to draw art. But what was interesting was there's this documentary show that I really, really love. It's called Alone. I don't know if you guys know that, but it's literally what they do is they pay, the prize is $500,000. Now it's $1 million. And all you do is stay in this, they drop you in this wilderness with only 10 tools, okay? And you have to live there as long as you can. So this is a thing where it's the utmost, everything is about survival. You can't think about music or chit chat or love, whatever. You're just in this survival mode to survive. But what was interesting that I never predicted was the mental game, like what really helped them move on to the next day and the next day to survive, the winners. You know what it was? It was art. They, after a while, like they got the food, they got the shelter, but what do? Like people were going crazy. They were going through depression, people were crying, all kinds. But what really helped the ones that actually stayed longer as much as possible was doing art. They looked forward to doing projects, making something beautiful. And that's when I realized that's what art is. It just helps, it really helps a person to live another day sometimes, and then for me, that form of escapism is not something bad. It was something that you would say enrich somebody or give somebody a purpose. So the legacy I would like to do is one day I would definitely like to write stories, or not stories, I mean like leave my artwork where it would just help people. Like it's more than this reality, it's more than what we're going through, like struggles right now. I just want to show something beautiful. I want to leave something at least beautiful, that it would help someone in that way.
And that way people could look back and you're this generation's Picasso.
Yes. Get through another day. I mean, especially now, right?
Yes.
Like,
but it's just so cool how art really does help you mentally, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually.
Yes.
It's that important. So.
Yep. It really is. Whatever form of art you might be, like, I mean, this is helpful for me. Like, this is my art, right? Like, I can't draw. Yes. I can draw stick figures, and I can draw very childish things. I definitely cannot draw High Garden or King's Landing or any of those places. But like my podcast is my art. So I hope everybody can find their form of art, whatever that might be, to help them, get through every single day.
Yes.
And kind of, be more mindful about the mental health and self-care aspects, which is critical. And we, in the society that we live in, I don't think sometimes we don't, it becomes like a taboo topic a little bit.
Yes.
Like, oh, what do you mean? You can't handle it. Like, what's wrong with you? No, we're still human. Like, we're people. Yes. Like we're not going to be strong every day. There's going to be some days when like, I just can't go, but again, back to the people aspect, like it's about the people that you surround yourself with. I mean, Dana and I, Like there's some days where I'm like, oh, Dana, I can't. I'm tired. She's like, okay, I'll go take a break. What we'll do the next time we'll get together is, XYZ, and, there's times where she's struggling and I'm just like, all right, sis, we got this. Like,
yes,
we'll figure it out. Like, I don't know how we're going to get there, but we're going to put it in our notes and we're just going to work off this list,
Exactly.
So, on behalf of like so many fans out there, all the fans of Game of Thrones and people who are a fan of your art, regardless of Game of Thrones, because even your non-Game of Thrones art is absolutely amazing. Thank you for giving us our own escape, place where we can go and enjoy the stories of others. And yeah, I mean, to have, to be able to say that like my art is what led to the creation of this visual masterpiece. Like,
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much.
I think that's a powerful legacy. I think you already have
Yes.
one, and sharing your stories of, your personal experiences, is a bonus, right?
Yes.
And of course we had Mel in the background with a double bonus. So
exactly.
Yeah. I don't take credit. I take credit, I give credit to people all around me, man. They shape me.
Yep, absolutely. It was teamwork, like we talked about in a couple of our two, like, everybody has their different part to play. But no one person can create, greatness, right? Like whether it be support system, other fellow creators, your family, being understanding of the demands upon your time, all those things. So yeah, we're grateful for you. We wish you all the success in your future endeavors, whatever it might be, whoever's coming next for more boats. You know what? If they ever do, like, I want to see fantasy Hawaiian, like show me chiefs, show me conflict island stories, and I want you to do the boats.
Oh my God.
So when we will be calling you to do our first Hawaiian animation.
Like, I don't know if like all the different styles of Polynesian boats, but it's quite epic. I will send you some pictures, and I would love to see some of your work on that. So
yes.
Yeah. I do own a Maori boat model.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, they're cool. Yeah. And I think it's very similar to the Hawaiian ones because they're all like tied in together, the Polynesian style.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
See, now you gave me an idea. We're gonna do a panel of our boats. The different boats of indigenous peoples.
You gotta give me time to draw some first.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm gonna give you time. I'm gonna be like, okay, Mog.
Yeah, but thank you so much, guys. Dana, you're such a sweetie.
Cheers. Yep.
Moana, you're cool.
Thank you.
You're a boss lady. I love it. And sorry if I was rambling again. I tend to do a lot of
No. There was no rambling. You were giving us plenty of information, and all those artists and creatives that are out there that look up to you or know about your work. Now they know all that history that led you to where you're at. So that way, if they're feeling down about their struggles or what they're going through, they're like, okay, she made it through. I can make it through.
Absolutely.
So there was no rambling. You were just giving us all truths.
All right.
Yes. So guys, please be sure to follow Mog online. She also does some amazing like live videos. You can see her work in action. She also offers opportunities for you to purchase some of her amazing art, lots of originals, beautiful work. And she is an active female within the indie comics community as well. So thank you, Mog, again. Thank you to all of our listeners who tuned in. We appreciate all of you. Please follow us on Facebook at Moana Podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as follow us on Twitch. And with all that said, have a great evening. And we hope you guys will continue to tune into the show. Take care, everybody. Malama pono, ahui ho.